The first time Michael Lee speaks to Marlo Stanfield, Marlo offers him $200. The last time Marlo makes a decision about Michael, he orders Michael's death. That is their entire relationship in miniature. Marlo begins with a gift and ends with a death sentence because both actions come from the same belief. He sees people as things that can be acquired, placed, and removed. Money brings them closer, protection gives them a debt, fear keeps them where they belong. Once somebody can no longer be trusted to stay in that place, Marlo removes him. Michael is the one young person around Marlo who understands that danger before Marlo has even learned his name. He looks at free money and sees the person standing behind it. He understands that accepting something can create a relationship, and Michael has spent most of his childhood trying to keep dangerous adults from gaining any more access to him. This is why the money scene matters so much, although its full meaning only becomes clear after we follow every stage of their relationship. Marlo becomes interested in Michael because the boy cannot be bought easily. That same quality eventually convinces him that Michael cannot be kept safely. Their first interaction comes in Soft Eyes. The second episode of Season 4, Monk approaches Michael, Namond, Randy, and Dookie shortly before school begins. He hands out $200 to each boy for new clothes. Randy and Namond are delighted. $200 is serious money for children their age, and the offer arrives at the exact moment they need it. Monk makes sure they know where it came from. They are supposed to thank Marlo. That detail explains the entire giveaway. Marlo is spending money to make his name feel useful. The children will arrive at school wearing clothes he paid for. Their families will remember that he supplied what they could not. The neighborhood will talk about his generosity, and every conversation will carry his name a little farther. The money is also a demonstration of control. Marlo can walk into a courtyard and solve a problem for every child standing there. No form, no waiting room, and no explanation is required. Baltimore's public institutions have spent years teaching these children that help arrives late, arrives badly, or never arrives. Marlo can place $200 in their hands within seconds. Michael refuses. Monk tells him there is nothing he has to do for it. Michael answers, "No, thank you, man." Marlo hears the resistance and walks over himself. He asks whether Michael thinks he is too good for the money, followed by the uglier possibility, or is you such a bitch-ass punk you worried about where my money come from? Michael looks at him and says, "Yeah." It is a wonderful answer because Marlo has offered him two humiliating choices. Michael can appear arrogant, or he can appear afraid. Michael accepts fear without allowing Marlo to turn it into submission. He is worried about where the money came from, and he leaves it there anyway. Marlo lets him go. That reaction separates Michael from the security guard Marlo later murders. The guard asks Marlo to acknowledge a basic rule after Marlo steals from the store in front of him. Marlo hears the request as an attempt to control him. Michael rejects Marlo's money and answers an insult directly, yet Marlo becomes interested. The difference lies in how Michael carries the refusal. He never tells Marlo what he should do. He makes no claim over him. He simply denies Marlo a claim over himself. Marlo can respect that because it resembles the way Marlo wants to see himself. Michael is young, surrounded, and poor, yet he still acts as if his decisions belong to him. When the boys ask why he refused, Michael gives the line that defines his story. "That owing niggas for shit, man. That ain't me. Pride is part of the answer. Pride alone is too small." Michael has already learned that adults can use access as a weapon. His mother is addicted to drugs, so he has become the stable parent in Bug's life. He controls the food, the money, and the daily routine because the adults in the home cannot be trusted to do it. Devar's return later confirms the source of Michael's deepest fear. The series strongly implies that Devar sexually abused him before going to prison, and Michael responds to his return with the alertness of someone who remembers exactly what this man is capable of. An offer from an adult therefore carries a second question for Michael. What will this person believe he is allowed to ask for later? Cuddy encounters the same wall. He offers Michael boxing instruction, attention, and a ride home. His intentions are sincere, and Michael still pulls away as Cuddy tries to become closer. Michael has no reliable method for separating a good adult's attention from a predator's attention. Distance has protected him before, so he keeps using it. Marlo's money is even easier to read. Monk says there are no conditions, although Marlo's name is already attached to every bill. The gift asks for gratitude, recognition, and a place in the children's understanding of who runs the neighborhood. Michael hears the condition because nobody has to say it. His refusal creates the opposite result from the one he wants. Marlo notices him. Their next meaningful interaction takes place from a distance in homerooms. Michael temporarily works Bodhi's corner because he needs money for school clothes for himself and Bug. Marlo and Chris see him handling the shop. Marlo has already taken an interest after the handout. Now he sees proof that the refusal came from a code. Michael will work for money. He will take responsibility, learn the corner, and earn what he brings home. He only rejected the version that placed him inside somebody else's generosity. Marlo says he wants to know more about him. Chris describes Michael with a memorable phrase, "big paws on a puppy." They are looking at a child and measuring the man he may become. His size matters, although the real attraction is his control. Michael is quiet, watchful, and difficult to embarrass. He cares for his family. He works without begging. He has exactly the qualities Marlo would want in a young soldier. This is the first irony in their relationship. Michael's defense against being controlled makes him valuable to a man searching for people to control. Marlo has plenty of corner boys who will take $200. Their gratitude is cheap because it can be purchased from almost anyone in the courtyard. Michael's refusal makes his eventual loyalty worth more. Marlo wants the person who is hard to acquire because acquiring him becomes proof of Marlo's reach. The recruitment continues in alliances, mostly through Chris and Snoop. They approach Michael while he is with his friends. Chris praises the same traits Marlo has been studying. He has heard that Michael is straight, takes care of his people, and never begs for handouts. Chris describes the Stanfield organization as a family. A good soldier will be taken in, taught, and protected. If you're with us, just like we'd be with you all the way. Michael replies that he already has a family, his mother and his little brother. The line is important because Michael's loyalty already has a direction. He has built his life around protecting Bug. Joining Marlo would create another family above that one, with another set of demands. Chris wisely leaves the offer open. We'll be around if you need something. Marlo's people understand patience. They do not have to drag Michael into the organization while his independence is still working. They can wait for the city to create a problem too large for a child to handle. Devar becomes that problem. When Bug's father returns from prison and moves into the home, Michael's entire system of protection collapses. His mother welcomes Devar back. Bug is too young to understand the danger. Calling social services could separate the brothers and place them in group homes. Cuddy has been pushed away. Prez can offer concern inside a classroom, but Michael cannot explain this fear to him. Every legitimate form of help either feels unsafe or carries a serious risk of losing Bug. Michael finally walks into Marlo's courtyard at the end of Know Your Place. Dookie waits outside. Michael enters alone and stands before Marlo, Chris, and Snoop. He says, "Thought maybe I could catch up with Chris. I got a problem I can't bring to no one else." Marlo looks at him and says, "He just a kid." This is the moment their relationship changes. Earlier, Marlo crossed the courtyard to offer something Michael had never requested. Now Michael has come to him voluntarily. The boy who refused $200 is asking for access to Marlo's most valuable resource, the ability to make a human being disappear. Even here, Michael asks for Chris. That preference explains the emotional distance between Michael and Marlo. Marlo recruits him, houses him, promotes him, and eventually condemns him, yet Chris becomes the adult Michael trusts. Michael senses a shared history in Chris. When Chris confronts Devar about his interest in boys, the usual calm disappears. He beats Devar to death with a level of fury that strongly suggests recognition. Chris understands what Michael cannot comfortably say. Marlo never reaches that part of him. To Marlo, the problem is useful because solving it completes the acquisition. He can provide the kind of protection no teacher, social worker, or boxing coach can offer. Devar disappears. Michael and Bug receive their own apartment. The danger inside the home is gone. The $200 had been easy to refuse because Michael still believed he could support his family through work. Devar forces him to seek something he cannot buy. Once Marlo supplies it, Michael owes far more than money. This makes his first refusal completely rational. Michael understood the mechanism correctly. Help creates a claim, and Marlo eventually collects. Their next direct scene arrives in final grades, after Michael has moved into the apartment with Bug and Dookie. Marlo visits with Chris and Snoop. He asks how Michael likes the place and says it must feel good to be on his own. The sentence has a quiet cruelty. Michael appears independent, although the apartment exists because Marlo placed him there. He escaped the adults in his old home by entering the structure of another man. Marlo has given him the exact life he wanted, and Marlo now owns the conditions that make it possible. Marlo notices a ring hanging around Michael's neck. The ring has already traveled through the season as a small history of power. Marlo took it from Old Face Andre. Omar took it from Marlo during the poker robbery. Officer Walker stole it from Omar during an arrest. Michael took it from Walker when the boys ambushed and humiliated him in an alley. Marlo asks where Michael got it. Took it from a nigga. Michael follows with, "Why, you want it?" Marlo tells him to keep it. The ring confirms everything Marlo first sensed in the courtyard. Michael has begun taking what he wants through force. He wears proof that he can confront an adult, hold a gun steady, and leave with a trophy. Marlo has no idea about the full journey, although he recognizes the attitude. Michael sounds like someone who understands ownership the way Marlo does. Possession belongs to the person strong enough to defend it. Marlo's choice to let him keep the ring is also a form of approval. He took it from Andre because Andre was beneath him. Omar took it from Marlo because the guns temporarily settled the question. Michael offers it back without fear, and Marlo allows the younger man to retain what he earned. After that small test, the work begins. Marlo gives Michael Bodie's old corner on Payson. Bodie has just been killed for speaking to McNulty, and the speed of the transfer tells us how Marlo understands people. One body leaves a position, so another body fills it. The corner continues. Michael also receives his first murder assignment. Chris and Snoop are drawing police attention, which makes Michael useful as fresh muscle. The organization has moved him from recipient to earner. The apartment, the protection, and the new authority now have a price. Michael accepts. By season 5, he has become one of Marlo's most promising young soldiers. Most of their relationship now travels through Chris and Snoop because Marlo runs the organization from above. That distance matters. Marlo knows Michael as a set of reported qualities: disciplined, capable, loyal, questioning. Chris knows the boy, Marlo knows the asset. You can see the difference in the kind of authority each man has over Michael. Chris teaches him how to arrive early, study a house, and remove surprises before a job begins. He speaks to Michael as someone whose judgment may become useful. Their shared understanding of Devar creates a bond that the series leaves mostly unspoken. When Michael asks a difficult question, Chris may shut it down, although he usually understands where it came from. Marlo has no equivalent bond with him. He provides the larger rewards and issues the larger decisions. The apartment belongs to Marlo's power. The corner belongs to Marlo's organization. Even the murder assignment comes from the need to protect Marlo's business, while Chris and Snoop stay away from police attention. Michael benefits from all of it without confusing access with affection. That emotional gap helps explain why Marlo misreads him later. Marlo assumes the organization's protection should produce loyalty because that is how his system works. Michael experiences protection as a debt he is steadily paying through labor and violence. Once the organization decides to kill him, he sees no sacred family being broken. He sees the hidden condition finally being revealed. Chris also understands that Michael's questions can exist beside loyalty. Marlo judges the questions from a distance and sees unnecessary risk. He never hears Michael explain Junebug in his own words. He receives Monk's frightened summary in a holding cell. At the moment, everyone is looking for the person who may have caused the arrests. The boy Marlo once studied carefully has become a report pass between anxious men. The first serious crack appears around the murder of Junebug. Marlo hears that Junebug may have called him a cocksucker. Chris, Snoop, and Michael wait outside the house and prepare to kill him. Michael asks why the man has to die over something people only claim he said. Snoop explains the rule. Whether Junebug said it matters less than whether people believe he said it. The rumor has entered the street, so Marlo's reputation requires a body. Michael keeps asking. If Marlo knows the insult is false, why should he care? The question reaches the center of Marlo's identity. Marlo's power depends on other people's understanding of him. His name must produce fear even when he is absent. A rumor that survives without punishment creates the possibility that somebody can speak against him and remain alive. Michael evaluates violence through cause and consequence. He can kill Devar because Devar is a direct threat to Bug. He can work a corner because the terms are visible. Killing Junebug, his partner, and anyone else inside the house over uncertain gossip feels unstable. Michael carries out his role and allows a child to escape through the back, which preserves one boundary inside an order he cannot justify. The quality Marlo admired is beginning to turn against him. Michael has a mind of his own. Omar deepens the problem. After Bachi is tortured and killed, Omar returns to Baltimore and begins attacking the Stanfield organization. Michael participates in the ambush at Monk's apartment, where Donnie dies and Omar escapes through a fourth-floor window. Later, Omar approaches Michael on a Stanfield corner and gives him a message for Marlo. Omar has killed Savino, plans to continue killing Marlo's people, and wants Marlo to come into the street himself. Michael reports the encounter to Chris and Snoop. He also notices that they are hiding Omar's challenge from Marlo. This creates a contradiction he cannot ignore. Junebug's entire household was attacked over a rumor. Omar is openly using Marlo's name, calling him into the street and damaging his organization. Chris and Snoop decide Marlo should never hear it because they know how he will respond. They are protecting the boss from the very code used to justify killing other people. Michael presses them. Snoop becomes angry at the questions. The scene reveals how far Michael has moved from the boy in the courtyard while preserving the same instinct. He still listens for the hidden condition. Marlo's organization claims loyalty, family, and absolute rules. Michael notices that the rules shift whenever Marlo needs protection. Marlo eventually learns about all of this after the arrests in late editions. Inside the holding cell, Monk suggests that Michael may have provided information to the police. Chris immediately doubts it. Michael has been tested on the street, and speaking about Devar would implicate him as well. Monk responds by describing Michael's backtalk. He mentions the questions about Junebug. He also reveals that Omar had been calling Marlo out by name. Marlo forgets Michael for a moment and explodes over Omar. My name was on the street, he demands every detail, furious that Chris and the others kept it from him. My name is my name. That outburst proves Michael's question was correct. Marlo would rather risk himself and his organization than allow a challenge to his name to go unanswered. Chris and Snoop concealed the information because they understood him. Michael objected because he understood the hypocrisy. Once Marlo returns to the question of Michael, his decision is cold. He admits that he cannot see the boy snitching. Chris agrees. Marlo asks, "But you ready to bet your future on that?" That is Michael's death sentence. Marlo requires no proof because proof would only matter if Michael's life had value beyond its usefulness to the organization. The possibility of betrayal is enough. Michael knows about murders, locations, and people. He has shown that he judges orders. He has survived long enough to become dangerous. The relationship ends without another conversation between them. Snoop receives the order to kill Michael. She attempts to lure him into a car under the familiar excuse of another job. Michael reads the setup, turns the gun on her, and asks why. Snoop repeats the suspicion that he has been talking to police. Michael denies it and understands immediately that the truth will not save him. He kills Snoop, sends Bug to live with an aunt, and leaves Dookie behind. Every connection can now be used against him. The organization that solved the danger inside his home has made closeness dangerous everywhere else. Marlo's mistake began with the quality that attracted him. He saw Michael's independence as strength that could be redirected into service. Money had failed, so he waited until protection created a larger debt. The method worked for a time. Michael ran the corner, carried a gun, and learned from Chris. His loyalty still had limits because Marlo never created the part of Michael that mattered most. Michael's first loyalty was always chosen. He protected Bug because he loved him. He looked after Dookie because Dookie was vulnerable. He worked for Bodie because he needed money and understood the exchange. Marlo demanded loyalty through obligation while presenting the arrangement as family. Michael could feel the difference. Marlo and Michael also understand strength in opposite directions. Marlo needs witnesses. His money carries his name. His violence protects his name. Even his generosity has to be recognized as Marlo's generosity. Michael's strongest actions often happen without an audience. He raises Bug inside a neglected apartment. He refuses money while his friends laugh at him. He approaches Marlo only after every safer option has disappeared. He kills Snoop in a car and immediately abandons the life he built. Marlo wants the street to confirm who he is. Michael wants enough control to keep the street from deciding who he belongs to. Their final positions make the relationship even clearer. Levy negotiates Marlo out of prison on the condition that he leave the drug trade. Marlo is taken to a wealthy party and introduced to legitimate businessmen. He has money, freedom, and access to a world Stringer Bell spent years trying to enter. None of it satisfies him. He leaves, walks back to a corner, and asks two young dealers whether they know who he is. They do not. The young men are talking about Omar. Marlo fought his way to the top of Baltimore and gave money away so his name would ring out. Once he leaves the organization, the name begins disappearing almost immediately. Michael moves in the other direction. He enters Vincent's rim shop carrying a shotgun and demands money being held for West Side dealers. Vincent dismisses him as a boy. Michael shoots him in the knee and takes the cash. The boy who refused Marlo's $200 has found a way to take money without accepting the giver's claim. The terms are brutally clear. Nobody can return later and describe it as generosity. Nobody can say they made him family. He risked himself for it, and he leaves owing the previous holder nothing. There is a bleak kind of completion in that image. Michael finally gains the independence he protected in the first courtyard scene. The cost includes Bug, Dookie, school, boxing, and every stable relationship he might have built. Freedom arrives after he has lost the people who gave freedom a purpose. Marlo helped create this version of Michael, although he never truly knew him. He provided the apartment, the corner, the training, and the violence. Chris supplied the closer form of mentorship. Omar supplied the model for living outside every organization. Michael assembled those lessons after Marlo's attempt to kill him removed any remaining belief in institutional loyalty. This is why their relationship was always heading toward betrayal. Marlo admires people who are difficult to bend because their eventual obedience reflects his power. Michael needs to believe that his choices remain his own. Marlo offers family as a structure of command. Michael treats family as the people he personally chooses to protect. Marlo uses help to create possession. Michael has spent his life fearing what possession allows. The $200 identifies that conflict before either character understands how far it will go. Michael refuses because he knows money can be an opening. The person who pays may eventually ask to enter. Marlo becomes fascinated because a poor child has denied him the easiest form of power. When Michael later asks for help with Devar, Marlo finally gains the opening he wanted. He solves Michael's problem, places him in an apartment, and gives him a position. For a short period, both appear to get what they need. Marlo gains a gifted soldier. Michael gains safety for Bug. The arrangement survives until Michael starts applying his own judgment to Marlo. He questions June Bug's murder. He notices the cowardice hidden inside the response to Omar. He keeps searching for a rule that exists beyond Marlo's ego. Once those questions reach the holding cell, Marlo sees the independent mind again. It looked valuable in a child standing outside the organization. Inside the organization, it looks like a threat. Marlo orders the death of a boy he believes probably stayed loyal because probability is too weak for a man who treats control as survival. Michael escapes because suspicion is the skill he had before Marlo ever met him. The defense that made him reject the money eventually saves him from the person offering it. Their relationship begins with Marlo asking whether Michael is afraid of his money. Michael says yes, he was right to be.